Good day, everyone. My name is Lebogang Peto. I'm a master's student in economics at the NWU. It is my honor to welcome you all to the 2021 Northwest University's Race Awareness Week. It is particularly important for us all, not just economists, to consider the relationship between race and the economy. It is necessary for us to recognize progress that has been made in South Africa to uplift people who have been previously disadvantaged. The World Bank's Overcoming Poverty and Inequality report shows us the latest available data, which indicates that around 2.3 million South Africans have escaped poverty between 2006 and 2015. While the coronavirus will have worsened the state of poverty in South Africa, especially along the lines of race, it is worth reflecting on the gains that have been made. But there's still much to be done. Just before the pandemic in 2019, we still had massive inequalities in terms of unemployment. Black Africans were reported as having 43% unemployment rate. Colored people were reported as having 30.1% unemployment rate. Indian people's unemployment rate was 20.6%, while white people's had only 9% unemployment rate. Startling statistics are also reflected in earning differentials, where Black Africans on average still earn less than what half of white people earn in South Africa. So too, a breakdown of the Black African workforce reveals that 18% are considered skilled workers, while in the case of whites in South Africa, the skilled workforce is 61%. These statistics emphasize that 3 centuries of colonialism and half a century of apartheid have left South Africa with massive challenge of changing the structural inequalities embedded within our economy and indeed our society. One of the main reasons for us hosting these cross-curricular events during RAW is to augment our learning outside of the classroom. This week is an opportunity for us all to learn, wake up, and to reflect. We encourage everyone attending this session to acknowledge that as a community that encourages intellectual discourse, that we need to ask the hard questions, but that we always remain respectful. That we push to understand better, but also know when to listen better. That you embrace being comfortable with the uncomfortable. As you watch the contributions made by the various speaker or speakers in each session, please feel free, not just to type questions, but even your thoughts and reflections in the chat box. You don't have to wait for the discussion section of the session. Please contribute via text from the moment we start with the session. If you are enthusiastic about unmuting your mic, you're more than welcome to raise your hand. If time allows, the facilitator will encourage you to unmute yourself. We hope that for each of you, this session will be the start of a conversation that leads to action just beyond Race Awareness Week. In closing, the patterns of race representations as well as gender and class demonstrate the longevity of racialized hierarchies of privilege in our country. Approaches to regulate, stimulate, and steer the economy are critical matters to contemplate as a university community embedded within broader South Africa. We look forward to your engagement. Enjoy. Geniet dit. Itumele. Lethabeng le rona.
You want to watch it again or gather more information regarding that. And just know that you are welcome to already put your questions on the chat room, on the chat box, your comments or reflections while we're speaking. However, there will be time for Q&A section where you will be allowed to ask questions, but that doesn't mean you have to wait for that. And just on the side note, after the session, we will have a winner for the 10 gig, so a lucky draw where we will choose a winner for 10 gig of data. So stay tuned, and I hope you're gonna enjoy. I see a question. Are you from FEMS? Yes, I'm from the Faculty of Economic and Management Sciences in the School of Industrial and HR. And what I'll then do is give over to the panelists to just introduce themselves before we can officially start. Over to you, Dineo.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dineo Machakana, and I am a master's student here at the Northwest-University Val Triangle campus, and I'll be one of the panelists for the book Black Text today. Thank you.
Lebo, you can speak.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lebogang Peto, and likewise, I'm also a master's student at the Northwest-University Val Triangle campus. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Very interesting topic at hand.
Thanks, Lebo. Toka, you can also introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tuka Soteti. I used to be a student at Northwest University, but right now I'm working at Standard Bank in Dihlabeng in the Free State. I'm happy to be with you guys.
Thank you, the panelists, for a warm introduction. And I will start. I was tasked with a question as to what is black text in my own thinking. Do I think it's a burden or Ubuntu, as per the book by Mhlongo? And I'm here, and I thought hard about this topic, and I thought maybe it would be authentic if I speak about myself and my own experiences. And I must say, for me, black text is really Ubuntu. And I'm also unsure about the term black text, whether should I call it black text or should I call it uplifting the family? Because for me, I'm just thinking this morning when I was preparing for this session, I thought of how I'm not yet where I want to be in life. I'm not driving my dream car. However, I sleep at night very well knowing that my family is well taken care of because of me, that I can take care of my family, that I can take care of my in-laws, and everybody that's looking up to me then can succeed. Everybody that never had opportunities, the same opportunities that I had, that they can succeed. For me, black text is more than just the word black text. And I think the reason maybe it has a negative connotation to it, it's the abuse that comes with the term. That obviously in our background, specifically when I say our background, I mention specifically Africans and Black Africans, that in our backgrounds, you come from a family that only one parent is working or none are working, and that you expected that when you eventually go to university and start working, that you can look after your family, that at least everybody can sleep with something to eat before going to bed. And as such, it becomes a responsibility that you need to uphold, that whether you like it or not, you need to do that. And anyway, in my own experiences, I wouldn't feel good. I wouldn't sleep at night knowing that my family is not well taken care of whereas I am in the position to help them to be better. And as I read the book, some of the themes that came, one person said, why don't we call it family upliftment? Why don't we call it Black recognition? Because it's basically you recognizing your family, you supporting your family. Why do we call it black text? And in the study that I've done with one of my master's students, we realized that it comes text, or then the term becomes black text because your family then start abusing the opportunities that you have. They start abusing you in a way that they demand more than you're capable of. So there's nothing wrong with supporting your family, but the minute it goes over and above what you are capable of doing, then it becomes black text. And also, if it happens that the people that you're helping are not doing anything to uplift themselves, to make sure that they can self-sufficient, they can provide for themselves, then it becomes a black text, because the question is, will the cycle end? Will the time comes where you stop having to look after your family? And as such, like I say, for me, it's really about responsibility. It's really about uplifting your family. It's really about ensuring that your family is well looked after, because most of the time you find that our parents had to put in a lot to ensure that we are where we are. And the reason why I had to tell you that I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a lecturer, I'm an industrial psychologist, I didn't just come there or get there because everything was clear for me, but everybody had to put in something. They had to support me to ensure that I get to where I am. And for me, because I'm sitting here now and I can be able to talk about this openly, that for me says I'm privileged, and as such, it's only fair and morally right for me to look after my family and not see it as a tax, not see it as a negative connotation. However, I need to say that it also in the study that we've done, we also realize that it becomes a problem if you as the person that is paying the black tax or the person that's supporting your family and friends and everybody that's looking up to you, the minute you cannot put a stop or saying these are the limitations, I cannot go over and above this, it becomes a problem. Because what we've seen is that people would move from one job to another, mainly because they want increase, mainly because they want to cash out their pension. And when I listened to that one participant that we researched on or did an interview on, I had my heart was heavy to realize that people would move on from one job to another, cashing out their pension funds just to ensure that they can sustain their families and be able to pay the pay tax, the black tax. That people would have to. One participant once mentioned that the minute they started working, their parents stopped working, because then now my child is working. Now you have to do all of these things. You have to renovate the house. You have to do everything. Then I think it becomes a negative connotation. Then it's black tax. Then it's no longer family upliftment. Then it's no longer black recognition, according to me. So I think in conclusion, without taking all your time, because I'm excited to hear what your questions are about. For me, what's important is knowing that through you, other people can live. Through you, other doors can be opened, opportunities can be opened for others. And as such, we need to maybe rethink the term. Is it black tax? Is it black recognition? Is it family upliftment? What do we want to call it? And how do we then conceptualize the term? And what is it that we're going to use in ensuring that the term or the whole point of Ubuntu continues without killing any spirit and ancestral spirits and the way in which we were brought up. I mean, in black communities, you're not brought up by your family only. Everyone puts in their hand to ensure that you get to where you have to be. And as such, it's only right, I think, or morally right to give back. And I will then, like I said, without wasting most of your time, because I would really want to engage with the questions that I'll receive, I'll then hand over to Dineo, who will then share her part. And then please remember to please put on your questions and recommendations, suggestions. We really want to hear from you. Thank you so much. Dineo, over to you.
Good afternoon to those of you who just joined us. My thoughts on black text is that I see it more as an upliftment, like Ubuntu, rather than seeing it as a burden, because I myself wouldn't be pursuing a master's degree, honestly, if it wasn't for some form of black text, And in fact, I feel like black text has really, really played a big role in uplifting me and, making me who I am today. And I'll always be thankful, honestly speaking, of black text. And then my thoughts on this chapter by Mhlongo titled Keeping Our Ancestral Spirit of Ubuntu Alive. For me, I feel like it highlights that there's advantages and disadvantages to black text. For most of us who stay in the townships or close to the townships, we know that black text can serve as a form of security against crime as well. When you give money to those, your peers that are unemployed, that are always sitting, like around the corner, just, close to the tuck shop or whatever. If you don't give them money, you know that should any harm come to you, they won't be there to help you, But then if you give them money, like from time to time, you can rest assured that you are kind of safe in a way, against crime, and your family is also safe because you are sort of like looking after them as well, And when I was reading this chapter in particular, I was also reminded that my parents are, a product of black text as well. My dad would share his stories with me that if it wasn't for black text, he wouldn't have been able to obtain his BSc degree. Also noting that in the apartheid era, it was really, really hard for him to get accepted, like from local universities like University of Wits or University of Pretoria. He had to go all the way to Turfloop just to obtain that degree because he couldn't get accepted this side because of his color, And if it wasn't, because of black text, having a family member that agreed to stay with him that side at that time and supporting him financially, he wouldn't have been able to obtain that degree, honestly. So in wrapping my thoughts up on this chapter, is that black text can either be a good or a bad thing, like Mhlongo is saying that the system of black text is open to abuse, like any other system. So there's nothing really special about it, that it cannot be abused. And sharing my thoughts on Bongani Kono, I feel like, sure, for me, this was a very sensitive and touching story. I feel like it revealed, like the extreme extent of what black text can be defined as. He tells a side of the story that will make you think twice. When you want to call black text a burden, you will think twice, after reading his story. And so, yeah, those were just my general thoughts when I read the chapters that were specifically highlighted. Thank you.
Thanks, Tinel, for sharing. And maybe just to add on what Bongani Kona said, in ending, he said, what you call black text, we call life, because that's how our life is. That's the life we know. So thank you for sharing. Over to you, Lebo.
Thank you very much. So, black tags, burden or Ubuntu. In a research project carried out by Nonhlanhla Magubane, titled Black Tax, the Emerging Middle Class Reality, two perspectives concerning the definition of black tax are provided. However, I will focus on one that resonates with me the most. Magubane defines black tax as the financial obligations that the Black middle class have towards their extended family members as a result of the perpetual inequality resulting from the legacy of apartheid. SA's inequality is very high. In 2019, the income share of the top 10% households was estimated to be 65%. And like Sukolu Hlenyati states in the book, the legacy of slavery, colonialism, and apartheid deprived many Black South Africans of their generational wealth. As a result of their economic participation being solely subjected to cheap labor, they forfeited their opportunity to generate wealth. Likewise, they lost their fundamental tool to create perpetual wealth, which is land ownership. Ubuntu, on the other hand, is an African phenomenon that can be described as the ability to express sympathy or compassion, reciprocal action, honor, humility, and openness for the sake of constructing and maintaining communities with justice and mutual respect. Against this background, I believe that it is imperative that one considers the link between black tax and the context of a racialized South Africa before deciding on whether to call black tax a burden or Ubuntu. I, for one, believe that black tax is Ubuntu. I believe that we rise by lifting others, and therefore, when you have the resources and capacity to help someone who wants to do better, isn't it only human, Ubuntu, to extend a helping hand? In briefing us about a story concerning his views, Sifiso Mzobe, in the book, makes mention of his friend, an engineer, who took the entrepreneurial route because jobs were scarce, and who today provides for his family and is responsible for his siblings' education. Mzobe asserts that when he asked his friend how he felt about the heavy financial burden that his responsibilities placed on him, he answered, "If I don't help my family out, who will?" Now that's a thought that's worth pondering on. Nonetheless, in as much as I am for helping out, I do realize that not all people have the conviction nor the financial means to extend a helping hand as a result of debt, student loans, mortgage loans, immediate family demands, and such like these. Likewise, I do understand that, as my mother is more inclined to say, not all soil is fertile. And by this, I mean that Some people may have no interest in bettering or taking responsibility for their lives, and thus may waste the resources that you deploy to them. Like a Rubik's Cube, there are many sides to black tax. In conclusion, as Sifiso Mzobe states, I quote, "Our family backgrounds and family dynamics are never uniform, rather. Neither is the mental outlook of any individual. But there is nothing like a helping hand when you're down and desperate and have nowhere else to turn for help. Some people think that paying black tax is pouring money down the drain, but it is a favor paid forward," unquote. And this is what I believe about black tax. It is not a burden, but rather it is Ubuntu.
Thank you so much, Lebu, for sharing. And I think for me, what stood out from what you were saying is that as much as a helping hand is important, but we need to look at, are you capable? Can you lend a helping hand? And maybe that's a conversation that we need to have. And for that, I'd like to thank you. Not sure if we have Toka here so that he can also share his views before we open up for questions on the Q&A section. Toka, are you here? All right, maybe while we... Yes,
oh,
Michelle,
yeah, I was just going to say, I think Toka is currently struggling with connectivity, so perhaps we can take a look at some of the comments, okay. And then if Toka joins us, we can let him contribute a little bit later. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. I just saw some comments here that I'm going to read out loud. From Edwina saying, "My thoughts on additional expenses concerning family members should be voluntary. That expectation should not be the norm. It can be abused, as Dineo mentioned, and as you rightfully mentioned it should be voluntary. And however, from research, we saw that sometimes it's an expectation, sometimes, and it's also an unspoken expectation that the minute you work, you are expected that you need to help out. And another thing, it also goes back to you as an individual, that what is it that you think would work? And you as an individual, what is it that you feel should, for you, do you feel it as an expectation, or do you want to do it? Because sometimes you as an individual won't feel okay with not helping out your family, especially if you can. I don't know if any of the panelists wants to add on that, or maybe I can move over to the next comment. I see Precious saying that I think the meaning of black text will differ depending on who is on the receiving end and also who is giving, rightfully so. And I agree, because obviously if you are on the receiving end, you probably don't see it as black text, but you see it as somebody helping you out. And somewhere in the book, they mentioned that sometimes you are helped because there's an expectation that you need to help somebody else in return, that I'm giving you my money, I'm sacrificing some of the things that I need to achieve with an expectation that when you work, you will buy me a car because I couldn't buy a car for myself, for an example. And I see Edwina saying, yes, Precious, relative to the individual family dynamics and upbringing. And something that was also interesting in our study was that black text from the participant that we had discussions with, it's not limited to family. It can be extended to friends, can be, and the question that was really something that I felt it's something we need to test on. Somebody asked about child-headed household. Do we then say the child is paying black tax by having to take care of the entire family? So something to really ponder on. Don't know, Dineo, do you have any inputs, Level? Okay. Let's see another comment. Please keep your questions and comments coming. I see a hand. Maybe let me take the hand first before reading the comments. I'm not sure who it is, but it says Hawaii P30 Light. You may speak. Are you still there? Okay, I think we've lost the person that had their hands on. So I'll just continue with the comments while we, maybe when the person reconnects. I see Precious says, it will be a burden to me as the one being taxed and a great thing for the one benefiting from it. And Precious, I can agree with you to some certain extent. And my reason would be, obviously depends on how you view it. And like I mentioned earlier, for me, it's about morals, it's about values, it's about how we were brought up. And obviously, if it becomes something that's taxing to you, that is beyond your capability, then it can be termed as black tax. However, if it's something that you are willing to do and you are able to do, you have the capabilities, then I don't think it would be black tax. And like you said earlier on, rightfully so, it would depend on individuals, because we are different. We have different backgrounds, we have different goals, things that we want to achieve in life. And as such, it will differ most probably. I see Pindi saying, I agree with Precious. Realistically, it may be a burden to the one who is giving, and of course, uplifting to the one who is on the receiving end. So that I think it also adds to what I've already spoken about, and that maybe sometimes it's about the good that it will return. And I feel, and one of the questions that I received from everybody that signed up for this was that, will it end? Can we break the cycle? And as such, I think the question should be, what is it that we want to do? And how would we end the cycle if it's possible? And looking at the origins of black tax, where it's coming from. Do we really think it's something that will end just in a day or in the next few years? So it's a question that I also want to hear about. Lebo, I see you've raised your hand. You're welcome to speak.
Yes, so based on what Pindi just said, I feel like, yes, black tax is a subjective concept. However, I feel as though as if you feel like black tax is a burden to you, you have the power, you have the responsibility to be honest with these people that you're helping, mentioning to them that, you know what, I can help you to this extent and not beyond. Because I feel like the moment black tax or helping out puts a strain on your personal finances, such that you can't even save for the future, that's when it becomes a problem. So I believe that as the black middle class, us who are getting educated, trying to have a better standard of living, we have that responsibility of being honest, not only with ourselves, but also with our families. Because I feel like at times also we are inclined to wanting to put up this facade of, I have made it. People must know that I have made it. Now I'm an economist. I'm pursuing my master's. I have money. I am no longer there. I am here. And that is, I feel like, a picture that social media is promoting now, that we need to defer from if we are to be successful in implementing black tax properly. We must be honest. We must not put up a facade. We must help people who actually want to do better, people who actually want to take responsibility for their lives and actually need the helping hand, not parasites, because that's when it becomes a problem. I love this proverb that says that if you teach a man, if you give a man fish, you feed him for that day. However, if you teach him to fish, you help him for a lifetime. So I believe that black tax should be a means to help another person to be able to fend for themselves, not a means to an end. Now I must give you a monthly stipend. That's where it becomes a problem. We need to take responsibility of our lives. We need to teach those people that they too do have the capability to stand, Yeah, that's all I say before I just move around in circles. Thank you.
Thanks, Lebo. I must just emphasize the fact that black tax is complex and it will differ. And I agree to what you were saying to a certain extent, because as you're speaking, I'm thinking about a mother who's 50 years, and that would you then teach them how to fish at that age where they like, okay, I'm already tired. I just want to sit and eat my daughter's money because my daughter's now working. So it's really complex, and it depends on our backgrounds, and depends on who is it that you need to help, who is it that you need to pay black tax for. I see Lebu, I don't know if you wanted to say something, because I want to give to Toka to share.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to say a little something. So with regards to a parent who's old, entrepreneurial, endeavors all the way. You can start by saying that if, okay, that mother who just wants to sit down and whatever, does not want to work, you can start a business. We are graduates. We have capabilities. We have information. We have an ability to start something. So you can empower your mother to start something. I'm not saying you must just start a business and then leave her. No, start something that will make income, for your families, to ensure that this now is not a one-way thing whereby you are always taking out and nothing is coming in, because that becomes a problem.
Thanks, Lebo. I will then just give over to Toka, who couldn't share his contributions earlier on. Toka, over to you.
Hello again, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I really liked how Mhlongo used his words, because now in everything, the way he wrote, it really, I could relate to it, because now I, for one, I'm a product of black tax, because now many people had to help out where they can, give out money so that I can go to school. Ne? And again, one thing I've picked up in everything that is wrote is that it is okay to lend a hand, but it must not lift the burden entirely, So now this means that it's okay to uplift our families, but now be careful not to lift up the burden entirely, because now when you do that, that's when it becomes black tax. But soon as much for as long as you just help where you can, that's family upliftment. It can be black tax, because now we end up abusing the word black tax, because now if you say helping at home every now and then, helping your cousins and helping your relatives here and there, if we take it as black tax, how is it helping a family member who is in need of food? Black tax. How is it providing for a young sister who is in school? Black tax. So now we need to try and figure out or differentiate between family upliftment and black tax, because not everything is black tax, honestly. Because now, if we were to be honest, no man is an island. You can be successful in your career and a lot of money, but now soon as you alienate yourself from the people who have been part of your life since you were a kid, it's more like we are losing our way as Africans. We're losing the spirit of Ubuntu and the meaning of family on its own, because now family has, we are there for each other even when things are not good, So now us not being able to keep on with this spirit of helping each other and uplifting one another, what does it mean? Or what does it make us? Because now what makes us human is how we behave and treat one another. So we should not be looking at this in monetary terms only, because now for you, it might be 400 rands that you give out every now and then at home, but to the next person, it might be a life-changing money. It might mean a chance to eat at the end of the day. So we shouldn't just focus on it from the monetary perspective. Hence, most people who resort to calling it black tax, they're only focusing on it from the from a monetary perspective.
Thanks so much, Toga, for your contributions. And maybe just to add on what you're mentioning and saying that it shouldn't just be monetary focused, is also in the book they refer to having to stay with your cousins from afar, having to invite strangers into your own house because they're looking for work, they're coming from a rural area and they're coming to the city of Joburg and they know no one, and yet you're expected as a family to take that person in and provide for them. So that also just to add on to what you're saying, that it's not just a monetary, should be a monetary value or financially based, but it can be a lot of things. I just wanted, I saw a comment that I want to talk to from Sharon. My view is that as long as we have first generation Black graduates, Black techs will have to be paid. That those that are techs at some point were receivers of Black techs, and they should return the privilege. Black techs by its nature should be honorable and respectful, and should therefore not include abuse and exploitation. The person giving back should and must be able to draw the lines. And I think I think for me, what stood out on the research that we've done and from everything that I've read thus far about Black techs, it's really about drawing the line. It's really about saying, this is how much I can afford. And sometimes what I feel is when you start working, there's an expectation that this is how much you earn. There's this perception that this is how much you earn, and therefore you will be able to do this and that and that. And as such, I believe that's where the responsibility ends. I think that's something that Lebo also mentioned, lies with the Black taxpayer to say, to set the record straight, to say, this is how much I can give, and I have all the other things that I need to focus on. Unfortunately, I can only give you 100 rand and not 1,000 rand as you had anticipated. I see Carol saying, does the benefit of the receiver then justify the burden of the payer? I don't know if Toka, do you want to take that on? Does the benefit of the receiver then justify the burden of the payer? In your
Okay, I'll
view?
take it. For that, so now, how is it becoming a burden to the payer? Because now, remember, you helping the next person shouldn't leave you worse off, because now you need to help out with that extra money that you have lying around, not taking out the money that this was gonna at least help me throughout the month. So that's why I'm saying that helping the next person shouldn't be a burden to you, in a sense that you don't have to suffer or be worse off after helping this next person. So that's my
Thanks, Toka. And from your perspective, from what I'm hearing, you're just saying that it shouldn't be a burden at all. And I think we need to clarify that it becomes a burden the minute it exceeds your expectations, it exceeds your capabilities. Because the minute you cannot, then it's a burden. Then we cannot shy away from the word or the term burden, because now it becomes heavy for you because you don't have the strength to carry that and the people around you.
To add on, I think it became a burden, or people started calling it a burden, because now they did not set boundaries before. Boundaries need to be set so that people can understand that, what, I cannot be setting a budget for this person. I need to ask them first and ask for help and let them plan that, what, I'm gonna need your help with this and this and that, because now people just have this idea that, okay, because he's working, he's going to afford this and this and that. I know this because now I have siblings. My siblings know that, okay, our brother recently got a job. So now they be calling me, I need this and this and that. So I just told them that, you know what, guys, this is what I'm earning. On top of that, these are my expenses. So I understand that you want this, but be patient with me. I am going to help you, but at the later stage. So that's setting boundaries, because now they know that, okay, our brother is going to do this and this and that for us, but now at his own pace, because now financially wise is not stable at the moment. Boundaries are very important.
Thanks, Toka, for your contribution. I see Elizabeth, you're welcome to speak. I see that you have your hand raised. Elizabeth, you may speak. All right. I think you're muted, Elizabeth. I will, while we're waiting for Elizabeth to maybe, okay, there
I've
she is.
unmuted myself. I didn't unmute me. I think somebody muted me.
Okay, sorry about that. So
Right,
sorry about
fine.
that.
It's fine. Thank you for the opportunity. I just want to say I joined late. I had to conduct the class quickly. I like this topic, but sometimes I also do not like it. I've seen it many times. My take is, why would you allow your parents or your next of kin, actually let's talk about parents, and your family as a whole suffer whilst you can help them, and we want to resort to names like black tax. My take is, if you know that your mom, sometimes she'll be a single parent who tried to put you through school with your siblings, and now that you are finished, you are working, you've got a nice cushy job, you go and buy a car instead, and socialize and be the man of the town, or girl in high stilettos. You forget where you came from because you have had your part. I don't agree with that. You should contribute, and we should not be putting labels like black tax. You should be contributing, and it's not like paying back. You're not paying anybody back. These are your parents, for crying out loud, who saw you through, and maybe they saw the potential. Maybe your sister doesn't even want to go to college or to the university or to go further. They'd rather go work or not. And we know in South Africa, unemployment is a big story. They are seated at home with your mother. They don't have bread on the table, and you are sitting at a restaurant. With your nice cars there, because you're this family, no, I can't, this is black tax. Hey guys, please, I do not agree. And I'm not only speaking as a parent. My son has never worked for me. I don't expect him to give me any money. I want him to look after himself, but I do know that if I was suffering, he would say, Mom, here's some. He won't even come and ask me. He'll come and bring groceries. Let's just do the right thing, please. There's nothing about black tax and stuff like that. Let's do the right thing. And if you can help even your fellow men, it will be easier to even help your family. But if you see your family as a burden, and we put labels on that, how would you help another person? So I do not agree at all. Let's just do the right thing. If somebody is not having it large and you've got the means, let's help. More so if it's your mother or your father or your parent or your siblings, let's do the right thing. We've heard people always saying, I had to take my younger brother through school, and now that they are working, now I'm also concentrating on my future now. Let's do the right thing.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for sharing. And I think for me, the key is the means. The key is the capability. Are you able? And we need not to look away or shy away from the whole notion of, am I able to help out? Because if you are, then it's only the right thing to do. However, if you're not, then that becomes a problem. And I think it goes back to what Toka was saying about setting up the boundaries, ensuring that having that conversation with the people that are expecting black text from you, to say, this is where I am, and this is what I can do, and this is what I cannot do based on my responsibilities and other expenses that I need to take care of. I'll move over to a question by Babele. The question is, what exactly is black tax? The reason I'm asking this is because I initially understood it as those parents who normally expect or demand money from their children. Can I give it to you, Dineo? And your own understanding, of course.
Like I was saying, there can be like a lot of definitions to black tax, from the book itself. Others see helping their parents out as black tax. Others see having to send your sibling through college or varsity because you are the first graduate in the family as black tax. So for me, honestly speaking, I feel like there's a lot of definitions to black tax. Like I've highlighted with the chapter that we read from Bongani Kono, right? He highlights another definition, of black tax, for him having to take care of his mother that is currently sick, can also be a form of black tax. So for me, I feel like there's a lot of definitions to black text. It just depends on you, you know, how you view it, to be honest.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Maybe just to add on, I think also from the book, one of the definitions was black text is a legacy of apartheid system that was brought into our democracy intentionally, to say that it comes from apartheid, and that's why we have black text. Another definition was a poverty alleviation initiative, to say that it's an initiative from those that can to alleviate the poverty of their loved ones. Another definition, I'm not saying it from word for word, but it's that, and that we normally shy away from, is that of having our white counterparts doing the same work as we do, but getting or earning much more than we do. That's black tax as well, that you get to be paid lower. And I think that was evident in the statistics that was shared by Lebo in the video when we started in the introductory video, to say the inequalities, the high unemployment rate in the Black communities, and the inequalities when it comes to salaries and so forth. That also is black tax, that you are taxed because you are Black, and therefore you will earn way less than your white counterparts. And it's a conversation that we need to have as well and not shy away from. I hope that answers the question that was raised about black tax. Lebu, I saw your hand up. I think you are muted, Lebu.
Oh, apologies for that.
No problem.
Just to add on, I just wanted to say, to formalize, because I believe that we need to understand why we are here, but you said it quite well. The legacy of apartheid, it is the one that brought about these inequalities, and as a result, the Black middle class find themselves having these financial obligations towards their extended families as a result of the legacy of apartheid. So in essence, I feel like that is black tax, but you guys expanded on the many sides that black tax can mean.
Thank you so much, Lebu. Michelle, do you want to your video?
I'm going to leave my question until last, so that because I'm organizing Race Awareness Week, that I don't hog the speakers. But I did just quickly want to point to, because sure, I see the chat is so busy, Kgomotso.
Okay.
So I just thought that it would be maybe a good point for us to discuss this idea that 2 points that Claudia was talking about here, to really ask, well, is black tax more universal than what we think it is? And she was making an example, I think her comment here is at 138, making an example about a poor white family, father being a miner in the gold mine, and his brother paid for him to study in BCHB, and then paying for their children's university fees. And this is universal. But I think there was some nice debate there from Karu, who was pushing back, saying, this is true, but in South Africa, the phenomenon is much more prevalent in Black households due to a legacy of racial inequality. So I thought maybe you and the panelists might have some points on that. I see Claudia has also replied, but I think it would be great for you guys to engage on that point, so we can talk about these inequalities.
All right. Thank you for that. Toka, do you want to perhaps have your comment regarding that?
Yeah, I think, here in South Africa, it's black tax is where it's at its highest rate, because now, as we know that apartheid actually did had a contribution, or it was one of the contributing factors into why we have such high rates of black tax. Because now, maybe we need to ask ourselves, what if the things were different? What if everyone had fair chances back then? Would things be like this? And if things were done differently in the past, what would this mean for the young professional South Africans right now who are living and feeling this harsh problem of black tax? But again, the positive side is that, for as much as apartheid exacerbated this problem of black tax, it did bring people closer together for one way or another, because now, as people, we were able to help one another. As people, we were able to uplift one another. whether be that we were family or we are from the same village, it was very simple to feel pain for the next person and be able to help them. And even if you don't have that much of money, but we could share, which is something that that happens really on these days.
Thanks, Choka, for that. I don't know if Dineo, do you want to perhaps add? Or you just unmute yourself.
No, I don't have anything to
Okay.
add.
All right. Thanks for that. So what I just wanted, and maybe that what stood up out for me from what Choka was saying is that the question of if apartheid was not there, will we be where we are as Africans? If our families could provide for themselves, they could build their own houses, that by the minute I go and start studying, I don't have to worry about building my mother a house because they've already done that for themselves. So, and also to say that the phenomenon can be applied to everyone, and maybe it's more prevalent in Africans because of the backgrounds that being disadvantaged and all the apartheid system and what was imposed by the apartheid system, and as such, probably hence it seems as though at this present moment it's just applicable to the blacks, but it's not necessarily true. I see Anila saying, if you do it voluntary, it's not black tax. But once you are manipulated or expected to look after your family, it becomes black tax. So if there's a manipulation of some sort, an expectation of some sort, and that you are also, from what Pindile was saying, that you are pushed beyond your limits, then it becomes black tax. All right. Let me just look at the other questions that are there. Tax is on earning and not on spending. As such, if it's called black tax, it creates the impression that as long as you earn, you should support the family, and not only if you spend and have access, that it's where the expectation comes in. So the whole notion of having to spend for someone, and I think also being able not exceeding what you have, and having expectations that are beyond your capabilities. Because from what I'm hearing, and a lot of us are talking about it becoming a burden once it exceeds your expectations and capabilities, and that other than that, it is generally Ubuntu, because like Elizabeth was saying, you're not just gonna sleep and live a lavish life, whereas your family don't even have a place to sleep or a roof under their heads. All right. I'm just gonna look at another question so that I can try to address a lot of questions at this or comments that are on the chat room. Kibita Mang says, for me, black tax is a problem when people in my family don't want to work hard, but they depend on me on a monthly basis to give them money. However, if I'm using my money to fund my niece's school fees, then it's good investment and not black tax, because at the end of the day, I'm empowering her. When I spend for my parents, it's never black tax. They sacrifice in raising me. It's only fair to look after them. So basically, it depends on the way in which you view it, and it depends on what is it that you're doing, and are you empowering the people, or going back to what Lebo was saying about the fish, to saying, if I give you fish, then I'm feeding you, and tomorrow you'll bring your hand again expecting me to give you another fish. But if I teach you how to fish, then you can fish for yourself. Therefore, I'm empowering you, and I'm allowing you to develop further and be empowered and have better opportunities yourself. All right. Let's see another one. I see Andre saying, we need to change the mentality of supporting family members. We should not only help when there's a problem, we should empower and, in brackets, invest, so that we don't have to do it every day. So at the end, I think the question about the cycle, to saying that once we empower and we invest, at the end, we'll come to a point where we don't have to pay black tax anymore. All right. Let me look at another question that I can engage with the panelists. Everyone is an entrepreneur, that's Pindi, and being a graduate does not guarantee one capital to start a business or equip your parents to start a business. I think Lebo, you spoke about that, and Pindi says at Lebo, not everyone is an entrepreneur, and being a graduate doesn't necessarily. So I think she's pointing out to what you spoken about earlier on. Do you want to maybe engage further on that, Lebo?
Of course. I totally agree with Pindi. Not everyone is an entrepreneur, but I feel like we as, the Black middle class, we have a responsibility to go back and teach our fellow brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, about financial literacy. Yes, maybe the person you're helping out does not have entrepreneurial capabilities. However, from the amount that you give them, you could teach them financial literacy. You could teach them that not everything that you get, you're supposed to consume. You know, a part of all you earn, you can actually set aside, you know, to ensure that you can do something with the amount that you earn. So totally, not everyone is an entrepreneur, but financial literacy, that is also another big issue among Black Africans, us as Black Africans.
Thank you so much, Lebo. Dineo, I'm going to give this one to you because I think you also spoke about earlier on when you gave your contributions about your father being a product of Black techs and so forth. And Palisa is saying, when can one say they have played their part with regards to Black techs, or does it become continuous? Where do you then say this is it?
In my opinion, I feel like after you've uplifted the person, I feel like you can look back and say you played your part. You know, like my dad's family, after they've accommodated him for so many years, and after he obtained his degree, they can say that, you know, we've played a part. And then he had to look after me, and my older sister as well had to contribute, you know, towards me being a graduate today. And my sister can look back and say she also played her part. And now I'm also currently looking for a job, and I can see that my older sister, the same one who would provide for me when I had nothing, now has children, and she's sort of like struggling financially. So what I have on my mind is that once I start working, I'm also gonna help, you know, I'm also gonna help with his son up until he gets to varsity, when he can now start, or after he graduates, when he can start now looking after himself financially.
Thanks, Lebo. And maybe something, Dineo, sorry. M. Mukhele says it becomes a burden once they continue asking for money, even when it's not necessary, whereas taking advantage of your kindness, especially the siblings. And I think here, maybe just to hear your view again, Dineo, in terms of, you've mentioned that your dad said they played a part because their siblings then managed to graduate and so forth. But in a case where they, like this person that you're sending to school never gets to graduate, they're just playing and they not passing, they just don't finish, then what in that case?
In that instance, then we'll be saying that they are abusing it, you know, they are abusing the system, you know, of Black techs. And one thing that we're forgetting rather to highlight is that tradition as well is also enforcing us to pay Black techs in a way, because when you don't play your part, you're always told that you're going to be punished by your ancestors and all of that. So I feel like tradition as well plays, like, you know, a very, very big role into abusing the system rather.
Thank you for that. I think Leonie mentioned that it's interesting to see that the different viewpoints of young people and the older people, or older generation per se, to look at what we feel as youngsters, and then what the older generation feels. And I see Pindi here kind of in disagreement with what Elizabeth was saying, where she mentioned you should, and having an issue with the word you should, that's to say it should be if you can, and not necessarily a must. It should be something that if you can and you are able to assist, so be it. Let me just look at another comment. I agree. Edwina says, Elizabeth, I agree. When it comes to parents and siblings, it's just right. But extended family expecting help from you on a continuous basis can be taxing. Lewu, do you want to perhaps take this one? So you can see,
you know, Ms. Malinga, the more and more I listen to this, I feel as though we're talking about two different things. I feel like Black tax is that tax that, you know, people who don't want to fend for themselves, people who just want to receive, you know, impose on you. However, you helping someone who wants a better life, you know, helping your mother who put you through school, you know, uplift their standard of living, looking back and being like, you know what, I have a little brother. He has to get to university, ensuring that you arm him, you know, with the necessary information, ensuring that you arm him with whatever you can provide to him to ensure that he walks along the path that you, I'm speaking about myself, that you're walking on. That is Ubuntu. That is Ubuntu. Black tax is this thing of, as Dino mentioned, passing by the street and people are asking you for money, and you're giving them in fear that they might not help you one time, or they might break into your house, because you didn't give them a 2 rand that other day. That is essentially what it is. I don't know. I don't even remember your question, but yeah, that's all I can say.
So thanks, Lebo. My question was with regards to whether should it be limited to parents and siblings? And I think from what you basically saying, and from what I'm hearing from you, it's all about the outcome of what you're doing. So the outcome, whether will the outcome be positive or negative? Negative in the sense that if somebody's not going to do anything to empower themselves, then it's negative, and then they're abusing you or your kindness and your support in that regard. Whereas if it's positive in a way that this person would then go to varsity, will graduate, and eventually have a job because of the help that you gave or the support that you provided to them, be it financially or emotionally. But if it helped, if it becomes positive, then it's not black tax. It's Ubuntu. Is that what you're saying, Lebo? You can speak.
Yes, so to explicitly answer your question, no, it should not be limited to your immediate family. If you are within a position to actually extend a helping hand to a cousin, who's an orphan, for instance, if you have the available resources that won't leave you in a much worse off position, like Toka said, to send this child to a college or something for them to empower themselves, I believe that then you can do it. You can't just say that, you know what, I'm going to limit black tax to my immediate family. It's me, my mother, my 5 siblings, and then anyone else should go wherever. If you are in a position to help someone, a cousin, an aunt who's saying that, Lebo, I want to start a baking company. However, I need 100 rands to start to buy the ingredients. If I have the 100 rand, and if me giving her the 100 rand is not going to leave me it's not going to do anything to my finances. It's not going to put a dent basically on my financial responsibilities. I believe that then that can be done. So in essence, it should not be limited to your immediate family. It can be extended to your extended relatives, depending on the outcome.
Thank you, Lebo. I'm just trying to look and group some of the questions together. I'll give this to Toka. The first question is from Daniela. Do you think the lack of a wider or better social security, such as universal basic income, basic pension, unemployment, health care, etc., is escalating or highlighting the problem? That's question 1. The second question is, do we need a more radical economic approach or system to support people better? If you can take those 2 questions.
Okay, to answer the first question, I think it would be best if things were better here in South Africa, in a sense that if the healthcare system was smoothly running, if people were being paid enough money, if there were jobs in South Africa, and by jobs I mean better paying jobs whereby people get to survive on their salaries without the need to go outside and be lending money and making loans, it would be better. So, and again, if we were to say that we need a change in how we go about doing things within South Africa, the economic policies that are being implemented. But now the question is, which economic policies will best suit the problem at hand? Because now this problem at hand it also requires that we as people, we join our heads and make sound decisions and sane decisions, in a sense that right now it's not a problem of having to deal with this issue of black tax using economic policies only. We also need to be in the right headspace, in a sense that if you as a person on your own, you don't find it as an inconvenience to help the next person, it means now, even when the economy is smooth sailing and everything is all right, and then we'll be in a position to have to reap good benefits, if I might put it like that.
Thank you, Toka. I see Caro's hand is up. Caro, you're welcome to speak. And then Kebitsang, you'll speak after Caro. Not sure if you're unmuted.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute yet.
Sorry about that.
Thanks. My question is for Lebo. She made an interesting distinction between Ubuntu and black tax. So I'm wondering if, regardless of whether you see it as Ubuntu or black tax, the end result is that the majority of young black people end up needing to pay more to their families than young white people. So that inequality of the disposable income that you have, doesn't it really end up being the same thing, whether it's a good thing that you did or like this burden? It does end up causing this inequality. So, I just want to throw a spanner in the works there with the distinction between Ubuntu and black tax.
Thanks, Caro, for your question. Lebo, you're welcome. Just unmute yourself.
Honestly speaking, Karu, yes, because of the inequality with regards to actually the injustice of having to share your income while your white person counterpart does not have to share their income with their family. I believe that that's unfair, and that is what shows the inequalities that we're faced with today. I feel like in all of this, what we should take home is the fact that South Africa is a highly unequal country. This is attributable to the legacy of apartheid. There is no hiding from it. So whether you call this black tax or Ubuntu, the fact is, because of the legacy of apartheid, young black middle class South Africans are faced with this. So call it what you may, but as let me put this to me, as a black emerging middle class person, I personally call it Ubuntu. Even though my white counterpart is not doing it, I have a responsibility, because I've been armed with the knowledge that because of apartheid, I wouldn't want to say have to, but I feel like I want to uplift those that came behind me, because if I don't help, for instance, my little brother, like, who is going to help him? So bottom line, I call it Ubuntu, even though you may say that it's basically the same thing. Black tax, Ubuntu, like it's one and the same. I can't make a distinction between the two. I totally agree with you, but I remain with my point, saying that it's Ubuntu. It's Ubuntu when we take it into the context of what I said, everything that I've said, the outcome, and all. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Lebo. I will, in the interest of time, take question from Kgomotso. I see her saying all good. Kgomotso, you're more than welcome to unmute yourself. I see you unmuted.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mine is not really a question, but it is a comment. I just wanted to say that I've observed that sometimes we end up in this black tech situation because of the decisions we make or choices we make, really. For an example, if one is unemployed, why would you want to have about 5 to 6 children, depending on the grants, having to depend on the grant system to take care of those children? Because when they grow up, eventually at some point, they will exit the system, and it will be now another person's problem to take care of them. We cannot make children suffer for the consequences of the decisions we made. As such, one will, if maybe, for example, I've got a sister who is in that situation, I'll end up being obliged to take care of these children. And as such, it creates the system of poverty to be continuous, and we cannot exit from it. It's just the first example I'm making. The second one would be, again, absent fathers who are leaving these children. We need to realize that we cannot make these decisions and then we leave uh, this situation to someone else to take care of it. So I think we need to at the end of the day come back to the choices we are making and say, if I want to leave this cycle of poverty, if I want to leave this cycle of black tax and so forth, putting the burden to someone else, I need to actually start thinking in a stable way in life. uh, I don't want to go on and on, Chair. For me, I'm very passionate about this topic, so I'll stop it here for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kgomotso Mang. Michelle, I'll just give it to you just now. I just wanted to say that you're bringing a different aspect to all of these, where you talk about the decisions that one makes that at the end or in the future will come as a burden to somebody else, and maybe it's something that we need to take into account as well, and think about and maybe change the way in which we do things. Thank you for your contribution. Michelle, you're welcome to speak.
Thanks so much. I just wanted to quickly get this question in the last few minutes of the session. So I think it's so evident based on how rich the discussion has been here. And I think, Kgomotso, you'll speak to this as well. Toka, Lebo, Dineo, having been students of mine. My frustration is I remember speaking about this topic, black tax, part of a broader seminar on the importance of decolonizing our curriculums. And so my question is, you can speak more to this, Kgomotso, but you probably had to fight tooth and nail to be able to have your master's student even study this, because then the question is, well, there's not enough literature, and which academic journals are publishing this? And so within the economics realm, if we don't have massive data sets to be able to download and run regressions on, then it's just almost not even seen as a researchable topic, never mind a topic that we should arguably have in so many of our classes that we're teaching. I see that Anmar had also asked a question here about what potential impact does the expectation of having to pay black tax have on our young undergraduate students? And so I would really just love to hear from anyone in the audience, from you or from the panelists, how do we make this not just be an event that we discuss, in Race Week? This has been the most highly attended event out of all of them that we've had. And how do we incorporate this into our classrooms and into our research? I would really be keen to hear.
Thank you, Michelle, for your question. I think I'll start with maybe just explaining the one challenge that we experienced with my student specifically. So the idea that she had when she started or wanted to really investigate or study this phenomenon was to look at policies that would be implemented in organizations. And that was a bit of a challenge for us. We couldn't even get to what type of policies should be implemented, because there is inequalities, there is disparities, and we cannot shy away from that. However, we couldn't get to that in saying, what does actually black tax do to a black individual or black professional, and what is it that the organization can do to assist? I mean, if you know that a black person comes with this burden, what is it that you're doing from an organizational perspective, ensuring that you attract black professionals into your organization without having to disadvantage the person by already paying them less than what their white counterparts are currently earning? And that for me was a bit of a challenge, because we couldn't even get to that in terms of what does it actually mean, and also maybe a lot of interest was not there in terms of getting support, in terms of what can we actually do with this. Now we know about this term. Now we know the challenges that our Black professionals are faced with. Now we know that a lot of them would move from one organization to another, but what can be done with it? How can we assist, or how can South Africa assist? How can the government assist in that? And when Kibita Man was talking, I kept on thinking about this whole apartheid notion that they were saying this is it originates from the apartheid era, and even to this day, nothing has been done by the government to try and elevate or whatever that we're experiencing. And I don't know if I answer you, but for me, it was more of, okay, now we know about this. Now we can discuss that it's a burden, it's a Ubuntu, but at the end of the day, is we need to look after our parents, we need to look after our siblings because of being disadvantaged previously. And as such, we cannot start, if I graduate now and then somebody who's white graduate in the same year as me, they can be so far in terms of their goal, achieving their goals compared to me, because I need to first start looking at everyone that's looking up to me to support them. I don't know if I answered you, Michelle. Thanks for that. I don't know if anyone from the panelists wants to add on that point or question that Michelle had.
I'd like to say something. Oh, it's okay. You can go first. Or should I go?
You can go, Lebo.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point that in the book, they go as far as to say that Black tax is actually income distribution, if you think about it. And they say that since this is a legacy of the apartheid regime, okay, this is me just paraphrasing, shouldn't it be, a problem of the government? Like, I'm saying this like from a policy perspective, and, it's actually interesting, actually, that the government doesn't even, acknowledge the situation that we find ourselves in, as graduates moving into the job market and, having to help those behind us. Right. And then from an academia perspective, I don't know if I understood Michelle correctly, I feel like academics also have the responsibility of writing about this, because I feel like we as Black Africans, we're more inclined to talk about this and not actually write it down. And by not writing these things down, people don't understand. So therefore, by not, it can't reach as much people and therefore have an impact. So policymakers, the government needs to perhaps have a universal income policy reform. And then with regards to academia, we have a responsibility of writing about this, because the more information there is, the more stuff can be done about this. And I feel like it should be written by Black Africans, people who know, people who have been through this, and who are in the middle of this. People like you, Ms. Malinga. Thank you.
Thanks, Levo. Thank you so much. I'm gonna, in the interest of time, I'll give over to Toka. And then Pelican, I saw your hand. You will be the last speaker, just so we don't go over time. All right, Toka, you can speak.
Okay, to answer Michelle's question, I think we need to have more of a uniform approach towards dealing with the issue of how can we bring this topic more towards the academic world, né? Because now, for now, we have a problem of data, né? We cannot access data to run regressions, né? But we need to find solutions like, okay, because now we don't have data to run regressions, so that we can understand this issue of Black tax and its impact, both economic and other aspects, né? We need to be looking into writing about this phenomenon from a qualitative perspective or point of view, so that it can gain traction in the academic world, so that we can later, or people, academics who will be working within the academic world at the later stage, can somehow try to find ways in which they can get data, so that regressions can be ran. So for now, we need to be focusing on doing what you call qualitative studies, so that we can improve the qualitative side of things, so that later on maybe we can be the other people can focus on the qualitative side of things into making proper research on this phenomenon of black tax.
Thank you so much, Toka. So what I'll just ask to do, Pelican, before I give it over to you, I'm just gonna ask Noni to do the lucky draw quickly so that we know who our winner is, and then I'll give over to Pelican for last thoughts and comments. Noni, over to you. Is Noni here? Oh. All right, while we wait for Noni to prepare herself, Pelican, you can continue then with your contribution.
Thank you, Ms. Malinga. Mine is not really a question. I just wanted to state something like a point of view on the concept of black tax. I mean, personally, my opinion, I believe that black tax is not a decision or choice or something that can be blamed on the apartheid regime. Because I mean, like, black tax is something that we grow up on. I mean, like, specifically, like, if a mother has like 3 or 4 children and then one is older than the rest, if eventually your mother is trying everything to get you to varsity, to get you a degree, after that your mother won't be stable like before. So eventually she will be old, and then that means you'll have to take care of your siblings. So black tax is specifically not a choice or a decision or something that can be blamed on the apartheid regime. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution and actually bringing a different aspect altogether to the topic. I'm gonna give over to Noni to do the lucky draw. Is she ready? Whilst we'll wait again for Noni. Oh,
Yeah, I'm quickly just going Noni?
I'm here, but I still can't switch on my camera.
Okay, I'm hoping that maybe try switching your camera on and off again. I'm hoping that the tech team will have sorted out the difficulty.
all right, let me just read 2 more comments while we wait for Noni. Precious says quantitative studies can also be done on this through primary data collection by using surveys. We need more questionnaires created to collect such data in order to run regressions. So that's a good input, Precious, something to really consider. Let's see, Anna also saying, thank you for this conversation. Different races must really get together and discuss this some more. Thank you for that. Noni, over to you then.
Thank you, Mrs. Malinga. So I'll be conducting the raffle for today. In here, I have all the student numbers of all the people that registered for the session. So the first student number I pull out, that person is the winner of 10 gigs worth of data. And the winner is, the student number of the winner is 321-60852. I will repeat it again. 321-60852. Congratulations to the winner. I'll also write the student number in the chat box.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Noni. I see that is Nombulelo Sibila. So Nombulelo, we will be in touch. Congratulations, you're now 10 gigs richer.
Thank you so much. I think it's only safe for me to then conclude the session. I would have liked to read more of the comments, but in the interest of time, I think we can conclude this session, and you're welcome to send emails to Michelle for any questions that you have, and then she will then forward some of the questions to me, and you're more than welcome to engage with me and the panelists anywhere at the platforms. I think Ifundi and Michelle would be the first point of contact. And thank you so much for a great session and your engagement. We really enjoyed it. We were as excited as you were, and it was really a fruitful session. Thank you, guys. That's all from our side.